So for step 29, the steering rods, well, you can see here that we need to make 3 of these. So there's one that's going to be made to 14 millimeters and 2 that are going to be made to 18 millimeters. And you can see that we've got the 2 ends and we have the wrench for the turnbuckle. So there are the turnbuckle shafts and there's the adjusters. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So first off, let's work on the one that we only need to make one of, which is the 14 millimeters. And you can see that we're going to have to get these 2 adjusters into place. So let's see how this will go, because they're all going to be turned on the same way. You know how some adjusters you turn one way, the other one you turn the other just to get them on. Well, this, you're adjusting them in the exact same direction. So we're going to need to make sure that we can get these on correctly. And the same thing with the other side. This has to turn this way. Now, it's interesting that they show you using the wrench to do this, because that seems a little finicky, just because, you know, if you're trying to hold this in place and turn this at the same time, the turnbuckle is so narrow that it's easy for the wrench to slip off of it as you're trying to attach this. So I might have a different way, but let's just see how this goes. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side for now, because we know that we need to turn this the one direction. Maybe I can do it this way for now. It's funny how it goes on, because it's not very easy, but here's the thing. We know that we're going to need to do 14 millimeters. So you can see we're way off at this point. So I'm really going to have to screw this down for a bit. Now, I do have this piece that I got out of the BTO1 chassis. And I think that might actually be helpful, because I have a lot more to grab. So we're just going to see how this is going to turn on that way. Well, first of all, by holding this, I can actually turn this. Well, maybe I can't. Let's just see how that's going to work. I almost want 2 of these. It would make things a lot easier. Yeah, that's just going to unscrew everything. Well, okay, we're just going to have to do it the way that they're showing. Unless, maybe if I grab the turnbuckle with the pliers and turn this on. Yeah, I'm afraid that's a lot easier than trying to use the wrench, because you've got a lot more you can hold on to. And I'm trying not to use the jagged edges. I'm turning this on by using the flat spot on the pliers, so that there's no edging on this. That's better. So, okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to use this tool, which I still think is awesome. We're going to hold that in place and turn. I'm gonna need to go a lot farther, if that's okay. Again, I'm gonna hold this down and turn. That's pretty good, but I think we're gonna have to back this off just a touch. Just based on how it shows in the diagram. And I'm gonna grab that there and turn it this way more. Because what I'm trying to do is get the turnbuckle more or less exactly how they're showing here, which looks about right. But let's do what we were checking here. Let's make sure that we're at 14 millimeters. Now, it's not quite right, and we need to turn that one that way. So I'm going to back off. Wait a sec, that one was that way. So I'm going to back off this side a little bit. Because based on the diagram, you've got one facing flat, one facing out, so that it looks like that. So let's do a check, make sure that's the 14. I can just get the calipers on either side of that, so there's our 14. And the same thing, it's almost a match to the diagram. So there we go. There is our 14 millimeter. So there is our shorter one. So now let's work on the larger one. So knowing how we've done this, which I just find so much easier, we're going to grab the turnbuckle. I'm going to stick that there. I'm going to grab an adjuster, and we know that this has to turn on in the same direction. Well, you know what? For the first bit, it may just be easy enough to get it started by holding it in your fingers. Yeah, looks about right and even. So again, find the flat on that turnbuckle, and we're going to turn this on. Now I can match that. Well, I guess I can't because it's got to be longer no matter what. And based on that, it looks like I want to back it off just a touch. I'm going to use the tool again because it is a lot easier to hold. That's about right. So let's grab another adjuster. Just going to do this with my fingers initially to make sure that that is going on okay. Yes. Knowing what we need to do, there's quite a bit that this has to be screwed in. So let's grab the pliers again, hold it firm, use my tool here, and turn it on. It's pretty close. And again, we've got one facing one way, one facing the other. So based on the diagram, this is correct. But we need to adjust this. We're now going to 18 millimeters. It's very precise and finicky. So close. So close, but no cigar. Aha. Okay, I'm going to lock that in place. And we'll do the check. It's not quite right, so we're going to back off one side of it. Just make sure that's yes. Yeah, looks like we need to back it off just a touch more. Yeah, I have to back it off just a touch more too. There we go. Inside to inside. Well, let's grab this, turn. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm inside. So there we go. There is our 18 millimeter. So even if I put this one down here, do it the same way, it's close on the diagram, but it does need a little bit of finessing just to make sure that you do get that 18. So we've got a 14 and an 18. Now you've seen me do both of those. I'm just going to go ahead and do the last one that's another 18, and I'll come back and we'll take a quick look. So there we go. There are the two 18 millimeter steering rods, and there is the single 14 millimeter steering rod. So all of those are finished. So we can now move on to step 30, and we're going to attach the steering rods.